you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love, because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. We can get on a plane and take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to disappear for a night, just to give in to the need and leave it all behind. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's Wednesday, July 29th. Thanks for watching Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I am the People's Pundit, Rich Barris. You guys can follow me on Twitter right there if you don't already, at Peoples_Pundit. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube page. Periscope users, just watch it on YouTube. I know it's easier on Twitter. While you're there, subscribe to the channel, and mosey on over Facebook users to like the page, People's Pundit Daily. I moved the mic this morning because we were told you can't really hear Laura relaying your questions, and we're going to go through questions today. I may cut this show down to like an hour and a half until they fix this thing out here, because the constant interruptions are driving me crazy. But, whoa, yesterday with the William Barr hearing, right? What the hell was that? Was not even a congressional hearing. So that, of course, requires the witness to be heard and to get a chance to speak. And that is not what the Democrats' strategy was yesterday. And I understand they found him, I think, Herminator, great follow. Mark Hemingway, Molly's husband, great follow on Twitter. I think he nailed it. I usually wait till the end to give commentary, but of things, but I think he nailed it. The bottom line is they knew William Barr is very adult-like, well-spoken. He does not scare away suburban voters, the people they're trying to win this election with. And they decided that they're just going to interrupt him and not let him speak, right? So that whoever came up with that strategy should be fired and never work in politics again, because and I can't believe I'm saying this. I tweeted it yesterday. Karl Rove was dead on. His analysis is dead on. That slim slice of the pie in the middle, that really is persuadable. If you're the left, you expect them to act that way. And in fact, you want them to. All right. And you don't care how it makes them look or how they came off, which was bad. They looked like a-holes. That's it. And that turns off those people in the middle. And I mean, whoever came up with that strategy really did them a disservice. They just came off as unlikable, mean, angry, pretty much representative of the mob that's burning down cities all over America. That's what they did. They reinforced that. And ultimately, election narratives, that's what they're about. That's how you build them. That's how you tell stories. You never want, and Trump's trying to tell the story that the Democrats not only approve of this, but that in fact, that they represent it, that they're okay with it. Joe Biden condones it. By refusing to condemn it, you really condone it. House Democrats in the Judiciary Committee went further yesterday, and they more than just refused to condemn it, which Bill Barr actually mentioned. It's the first time ever in my lifetime that one of the great major two political parties in the country refuses to condemn mob violence. They went further than refusing to condone it. Refusing to condemn it. They flatly condoned it and defended it yesterday. That is the stupidest thing that you could do going into an election like this. Once COVID is over, and it will be over, Trump is going to try to turn the corner, and you can see the foundation he's trying to lay right now. Of course, he needs to stay disciplined in order to freaking do that. We'll see. That's another remains to be seen. But let's look at, and I didn't piece this together. This clip goes to the RNC, but it makes the point I'm trying to make, okay? It really does. It hammers it home. They're going to do this. And I can't believe the Democrats just served it up for him. They just served it right up. Here's Bill Barr. Here's some exchanges with Bill Barr and House Democrats on the Judiciary Committee yesterday.
And I'm reclaiming my time, Mr. General.
And my time is limited. I have the time.
So what
Reclaiming my time.
Yeah,
Reclaiming
I'm
my
answering
time.
your question.
Well, you got to let him answer.
Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time, sir. Reclaiming my time. And I know you don't want to answer.
I'm not saying that.
I reclaim my time.
Reclaiming my time.
Reclaiming my time, Mr. Attorney General. Reclaiming my time.
Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time, Mr. Attorney. Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time, Mr. Barr.
Okay, reclaiming my time. Excuse me, the time is fine.
I'm starting to lose my temper. Excuse me,
protesters in
Mr.
the
Barr, this
federal
is my
government.
time, and I control it.
Applicants.
Reclaim my time, sir.
I think in another one I voted
reclaiming
by
my
mail.
time. Okay, reclaiming my time.
Publication.
Reclaiming my time, sir.
I will
Quibbling
get to
over-
that. Reclaiming my time. You answered the question.
That's what-
Mr. Attorney General,
I think
reclaiming
that's
my
what I was
time.
talking about.
Reclaiming my time.
We've waited a long time for you to come here. The time is mine. The time is mine.
Substances.
Mr. Attorney General, reclaiming my time.
Reclaiming my time, sir.
Without a rule, I
reclaim
think
my
DHS
time.
Reclaiming my time. I'm surprised at your lack of respect for a member of Congress.
Oh, it's the Washington Free Beacon. My fault. We were laughing. I'm surprised at your lack of respect. And I forgot to get a mask. I wanted to wear a mask on my chin like Korea, like an idiot. What are you doing with this mask on your chin? The optics of this hearing yesterday were so bad for House Democrats. It's a good thing that they have the media handicap to give them the 6-ball. They cannot play a game of 9-ball flat, straight up. They just can't do it. They need a handicap. That's why we call them the media handicap, right? And we used to think, and we used to joke, they got to get the 3. Let's give them the 3, give them the 4. No. These people get the 6 now. Republicans need to run it, sink all 9 balls in a row. Democrats, they can mess up a couple of times. They just need to get from the 6 to the 9. I mean, that's it. Because if they didn't have the media handicapping everything for them and retelling these stories, I'm not even sure they'd be like the longer I am in this business, the more I seriously wonder whether or not the Democrats would ever be a national political force if it wasn't for big media, if it wasn't for corporate media lending them
media
is the one who gives them all
the power. If it wasn't for media, Democrats would be embarrassed.
And we're talking about the same entity, right? Because then people would be forced to just watch C-SPAN and see it for themselves, like straight up, right? And that would be whoa, like to accuse a judge serving on the D.C. Court of Appeals with an impeccable reputation and record of being a serial gang rapist. I mean, if they. I mean, I'm at the point now in my life and my career where I wonder, is D+4 on the voter file, national voter file enough? First of all, would it even be D+4 if there wasn't, there wasn't a filter, right? If there wasn't a handicap, right?
Well, because they snip everything.
They did. They retell the story.
And then they paste it.
Yeah.
And it becomes a new world.
Even during the impeachment, they would be forced to read the actual transcript themselves. They wouldn't have MSNBC or the New York Times or CNN, which I see you guys trolling me. You think I don't see you? I see what you're doing. You could just call me on the phone and ask me some questions instead of being so sneaky, right? But you wouldn't have all those people cutting out 500 words of the transcript and piecing, like Laura just said, piecing together one sentence from the next to make it sound so bad. More Laura. Listen, I changed the mic to hear so you guys could hear Laura more. And when we get out of here, and maybe not even, I may just set something up here
I don't
temporarily.
Want to be seen.
Yeah, but people
You're
want
the
to see you.
person, but-
They don't want to look at this. They'd rather look at that.
I think you're cute.
What do you guys think? I should run a poll. Me or Laura? She'll crush me.
No.
She'll crush me. Anyway, she'll
We
crush me.
digress.
Let's get
Back to
let's get back to bar because thanks, Joyce. I got a both vote. That's the best I can get.
That's love.
I want to look. Joe Biden was in the basement for like 87, 89 days before he spoke to the media, which people talk as if like that's the same thing as Donald Trump being subjected to an interaction with the media, right? It's not. And we saw that on full display yesterday. So after all, then he came out, he had a softball time. And then 27, 28 days later, or no, it was 29 yesterday, wasn't it? 29 days later, we hear nothing from him until yesterday. Look, I'm not saying this isn't partisanship. This is just an observation. This coward uses the bar hearing, and I'm calling him a coward as an observation, right? Because he does whatever he's told. He really is, in our lifetime, the first potential like marionette president where he's not there. I mean, he's just Joe Biden used to be really sharp, folks. He was a sharp, whether you liked him or not, or you thought he was smart. There's a difference between being like smart and being sharp, like witty with people, like having a way with people. Joe Biden had a way with people, very likable guy. Look, I'm just being real here. I think he crushed Paul Ryan in the vice presidential debate in 2012. I do. This is not that Joe Biden. He's gone. He is gone. And this guy uses the hearing with Bill Barr as cover. And you would think, I mean, Ari Fleischer tweets, and I had to respond to it because it's a bit of a joke. Ari Fleischer tweets like, in light of the revelations that came out of the Barr hearing yesterday, which, hey, thanks for joining us, Glenn. I saw your tweet about it. It was a big bombshell. There's a completely different investigation into unmasking. We know from, thanks to Rick Grinnell, the former acting DNI, now John Ratcliffe has his job, has that job. We know from him declassifying the list of people who unmasked Michael Flynn, which was a ridiculously exhaustive list of the Obama White House and the Obama administration, people who have no business unmasking anybody. We know Joe Biden lied to George Stephanopoulos and the country when he said he had no knowledge of the Flynn investigation and knew nothing about it or nothing about the unmasking. We know from the declassification list, and we know from Peter Strzok's notes, all of which you can read about on PPD, that not only did he lie, and of course he knew about it, he was in the office when Barack Obama ordered the freaking investigation. That's number one. And number two, Peter Strzok's notes indicate pretty clearly that it was Joe Biden's idea to use the Logan Act. The fraudulent Logan Act, nobody in the history of America has been successfully prosecuted by using. And people don't seem to understand. The Logan Act is not like a legitimate law anymore. It's widely viewed to be unconstitutional. And it was adopted in the early republic because they didn't want, in those days, lacking the days of the FaceTime conversation, instant gratification of modern technology. You could hop on a ship a month later, be in Europe, and nobody could like verify who you are. So the law was intended to keep people from posing, folks, as ambassadors of the state or foreign diplomats or representatives Barr. We're talking about Barr, right? So Biden uses this Barr hearing as a way to kind of come out and, not have to deal with those questions. Nobody asked him about the unmasking. Nobody asked him about the Flynn investigation. They just did. And worse than that, this was like it was more than a softball thing because people were correcting him. He used to work for the Washington Post. He was like correcting him like delicately, like you correct your grandfather with Alzheimer's. I'm serious. Like when he makes a mistake, he didn't know he was talking about Tallahassee when it was supposed to be Jacksonville. Just missed it. And people are like, oh, those are little mistakes. Those are just little Are they really though? Seriously, are they? Here's what happened when he walked out first to the microphone in the press conference. And he tries to make it out like it was a joke. It's not a joke. And it's a short clip, so I'll play it a couple of times. You tell me whether or not you think it's a joke.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Kingswood Community Center. Actually, that's the one down I used to work. As a joke. You didn't know where we were. Anyway, it's great to be here. And
that's a joke? Do you really think he forgot he wasn't at the Kingsland or Queen whatever center? That's somewhere he worked years ago, he says, or worked with years ago. And he thought he was there. He forgot. Listen, not only so now Joe Biden is not only forgetting geographical things, like geographical locations. Hey, it's nice to be in Vermont. You're not, Joe, you're in New Hampshire. It's nice to be in Ohio. Joe, you're in Iowa. It's not just geography anymore. Now he's messing up like space-time, right? He's forgetting the timeline now. And I don't mean to laugh about it because it's sad. It's sad.
It is very sad.
It's sad they're letting this happen to this guy because they have polling that shows that he's the strongest against Donald Trump. This is how badly they want to beat Donald Trump. Play it again. I got to play it again.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Kingswood Community Center. Actually, that's the one down I used to work. As a joke. You didn't know where we were. Anyway, it's great to be here. And
Kingswood Community Center. Hey, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for being here. It's great to be here at Kingswood Community Center. And then he realizes, oh, my God. Oh, my God. I mean, that's where I used to. It's a joke. That was a joke. It was not a joke. This is scary.
Is there no champion for him though? Like
right? No, go ahead. Right, I know. Go ahead. Finish your thought. I'm just saying. I understand.
To actually sit there and he has to go home and watch the replay, and when he goes home and watches himself, does he not think, "How do people who love me let me do this?"
Do you think that they let him watch himself? I'm serious. Do you think? Because again, yesterday with the all Mexicans are rapists.
Oh,
he repeated this crap. He repeated two things about the coronavirus response that have been fact-checked by factcheck.org. We're not talking about right-wing fact-checkers here. Mm-hmm. We're not even talking about People's Pundit Daily, who is a fact-checker, by the way, folks, in case you didn't know. We haven't been doing it lately. We're going to have to.
We have no choice.
As a matter of fact, we should tone this down to like economic, political data stories only and fact-checking. Because there's so much going on. That's probably all we would have freaking time for. He goes back to this idea that Donald Trump put nobody in charge of the coronavirus response team. The admiral would be a little bit stunned to hear that. And the testing stuff. I mean, things that he has been fact-checked on, which is shocking because the media doesn't want to fact-check them. But there's such egregious falsehoods, otherwise known as lies, that they really have no choice but to do something, or at least try. And in some of them, they're funny. They're like, oh, he went a little too far. Like they just can't come out and say he lied. But there's other things too where, and by the way, that's right. Never mind. I have another video and I just wanted to make sure I was giving correct credit where credit's due. But yeah, I mean, basically, he keeps repeating these lies. All Mexicans are rapists. The neo-Nazis are very fine people. He believes everything that he hears and sees on CNN, on MSNBC, and the Washington Post. Like You could see, I don't think Joe is like lying.
No,
I don't
you can
think
tell, he defends it with his whole heart.
Yeah, like he truly believes Donald
it.
Trump said all Mexicans are rapists. He truly believes that Donald Trump called for a Muslim registry. In fact, that was Hunter Walker at Yahoo News. He said, do you think we need a Muslim registry? Donald Trump said, you know, this is a problem. We have to look at other things. That turned into, when Yahoo reported and when Hunter Walker reported it, that turned into Donald Trump as a candidate in 2016 refused to rule out a Muslim registry, which CNN then took and spun further and said Donald Trump calls for a Muslim registry. Of course, none of that was true. And then with the very fine people, that as well has even been fact-checked by left-wing fact checkers. We fact-checked out. It is not true. That is not what he was saying. He said that there were good people on both sides. There were bad people on both sides. Yes. And he said white supremacy, he condoned wholeheartedly. But there were good, very fine people on both sides of the aisle. That is what he said. And they said, oh my God, Donald Trump said white supremacists are very fine people. That is not true. And if you look at the transcript, they made that crap up. Just like he never said all Mexicans are rapists. So, I mean, this thing that he just keeps going on with, you have to conclude that he believes this, or he's like just such an old-fashioned establishment politician that, that he still has full faith in the media like this. And it's really a shame because somebody should tell him. But I guess they don't feel like he's in any real danger of being called out because, as we saw yesterday, he can go through an entire press conference during a day where, there was news. There was a completely different unmasking investigation, and nobody asked him about it, even though his code was used to unmask Michael Flynn. His code was used for it. I mean, it's really something. And nobody said anything about it. And then also, of course, we have Susan Rice's emails. We have Peter Strzok's notes. And never did he say anything about it. And one quick thing before we go off, because I do have another clip I want to show you. The Republicans are going to have a faux hearing about censorship today. They have no intention of doing anything. They're liars. They have no intention. It's just for show. They have no intention of doing anything about big media censorship. So I just want to spend a little bit more time on this because we did do these fact checks on this article called 4 Examples of Big Media Manufacturing Divisive Lies to Suggest that Donald Trump is racist. And the one big media lied about Trump from the jump. This is what he said about Mexicans, okay? The U.S. has become a dumping ground for everyone else's problems. It's true. And these aren't the best and the finest. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you, and he's pointing. They're not sending you, and he's pointing again. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. But I speak to border guards, and they're telling us what we're getting. And it only makes sense. It only makes sense they're sending us not the right people. It's coming from more than Mexico. It's coming from all over South and Latin America, and it's coming probably from the Middle East, but we don't know because we have no protection. That was his entire quote. And yesterday, Joe Biden goes to the freaking microphone at this puff presser, and he says Donald Trump called all Mexicans rapists. Oh, we're better than that. That's not what America's about. That's why people should vote for me. That is a lie. But I'm telling you the point of this, I think he believes it. I do. Trump called for a Muslim registry is another one. And guess who was in this fact check, by the way? Because people believe this. And Juicy over here, Juicy Smollett, he believed it. He tweeted about it. Hashtag Trump would have an entire people register as if they were a child molester. People like you are what is wrong with America. Hashtag shame. They demented him with these lies to the point where he committed a fake hate crime hoax. And then you can go and read about how Hunter Walker spun this up. And it really wasn't even Hunter Walker's. I don't find that much fault in what Hunter Walker reported, but I do find fault in how CNN later reported that Donald Trump, in quotes, Donald Trump on Thursday called for the creation of a national database in a story published online under the headline, Trump wants Muslim database. That is not what he said. Hunter Walker said, do you think we need to register Muslims in some type of database or note their religion on their ID? And Trump replied, well, we're going to have to look at a lot of things very closely. We're going to have to look at the mosques. We're going to have to look very, very carefully. Did he at all call for a Muslim registry in that response? But that's what they did. The other one is about his inaugural address. But the last one, again, neo-Nazis are fine people. All right? And actually, Joe Biden is in this because he launched his campaign with a video posted to social media that focused on this lie. And in the wake of the back then, and I know. And I'm sorry, Lisa. There's like nothing I can do about it right now. There just isn't. There is tomorrow, though. I have a plan, and that is to use mobile to piggyback off it. So when one goes off, it'll change the camera, but it's better than what is going on right now, which is driving me nuts. And it's totally out of my hands. There's just nothing I can do about it. All right. But I want to run through this real quick. I'm going to repeat. Bottom line, in bold, go read it on PPD. You will see, he says, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists because they should be condemned totally. And that is the point of where I was going before it first glitched out. Let's get back real quick because this is important. And when I put these things up on YouTube, I'm going to edit these little glitches and just smush it all together. So for people who want to watch replays, they don't have to deal with this crap. I'll just have to replace the live version of it. All right. But really quick from yesterday for people who don't remember. The problem this year with vote by mail that we have not seen with prior years is one, everyone gets a ballot. In prior years, ballots are requested by you. Inactive voters in many states have to update their info. Maybe if they have a change of address flag or something, they must update their info. They need ID to do it. And even dead people and those with change of address flags and other inactive voters will receive ballots in 2020 or ballot requests. That is a big difference. It's like a built-in inherent prevention mechanism to require people to have to request the ballots, because then it takes, let's just call it what it is, corrupt local officials. It takes a lot of manpower for them to have to go and do all of these things. Manpower they don't have, which brings us to bullet point number 3, but I want to get through 2 first. Verification procedures. Democrats don't want signature match or other verification standards, which are often required by state law. And we talked about this. Nevada, Florida requires signature verification. You will go to vote and they will have a tablet. You must sign the tablet and you better hope it matches the signature they have on file or the one on your ID. Both, really. They check to see. And they don't want that this year. And then 3, ballot harvesting. Even if all of these ballots come back, that's an awful lot of work for election officials for people who are election officials on Tuesday, but then double as Democratic activists for the urban machine on Thursday. And again, I'm not saying Republicans don't cheat here. It's not like only one side cheats. It's just that one side cheats a hell of a lot more, and one side is the only one calling for these moratoriums on election laws. Republicans are not asking for these things. Democrats are. So I'm not trying to sound like only one party does. Republicans played around in North Carolina and they had to redo their special election. They won it by a greater margin than they did the first time. But again, when you put these 3 things together, the only conclusion that you could draw is that there is no innocent explanation. There is no reason why they would want ballots flowing all over the place to the point where it's a logistical nightmare. Why they would want that along with the suspension of verification procedures, such as signature match and voter ID, and a moratorium on ballot harvesting bans, which are in more states than are not. California is the only one that legalizes ballot harvesting. That's actually codified in law. It's actually illegal in the state of Nevada. It's illegal in the state of Florida. But that did not stop Democrats from bullying the Clark County Registrar into not only providing that moratorium, but allocating tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxpayer funds to hire an army of ballot harvesters. And again, I'm not meaning to pick on one party, but they're the only ones asking for this right now. The Republican Party is not asking for this. So this is on them. There is no innocent explanation. So what can we do? Look, in a perfect world, all right, in a perfect world, none of this I would have to come up with solutions for, or any of us would have to come up with solutions for, because it simply would not exist. I actually prefer a completely different election system. One day of voting like the Constitution suggests. Then there's a reason for that. The founders had reasons for that. It's not a pretty reason, but it is a truthful one and one that makes logical sense. They only wanted people who took their civic duty seriously, who had skin in the game, a claim, a stake. They only wanted them to vote and make decisions on the national policy and leadership. They didn't want the fly-by citizen who didn't take civic obligation. I mean, Thomas Jefferson said, for every right, there's an equal or greater duty. They did not want these fly-by citizens to vote. They just didn't. And I'm saying, whatever, let them vote. But they have to vote on one day. And we handle for unions and companies who are having board votes, we handle voting through our online software for these companies. Will hire us to do this. We handle voting like that, and it's secure. And and by the way, I mean, there should be the same way you have to verify who you are to sign in if you're a veteran, for instance. You guys know what I'm talking about. To get into vets.gov, why is it harder to get in to vets? And I mean logistically harder, meaning there are safeguards, better safeguards. Why are there more safeguards to sign in to vets.gov than there are to vote? We could vote one day, get this out of the way. It could be tabulated very quickly. We could almost completely remove, we can't always, but almost completely remove human error from the process altogether by using software, beefed up, of course, but very similar to the ones we use to hold proxy votes for corporations. And believe me, you're not getting into that ballot or that questionnaire unless you are who you say you are. And there are different ways that we do that, but sometimes the companies will do social security numbers, social, date of birth. Maybe you have a PIN associated with it, all of it. And that's it. The vote is one day and it's done and tabulated pretty darn quickly. It removes all of these physical, logistical nightmares, geographical nightmares. And it could be done securely, safely, quickly, with integrity. That's a perfect world. I would design something like that. It should be one day, one vote. We cannot become a country that votes like California as a nation. Nobody, even Democrats, you talk to them, privately, even Democrats know that California's election integrity is nil. You cannot vote for a month, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Absentee ballots were for people who were overseas, whether they were in the military or they were traveling. It got way out of hand. Even the New York Times, when it was a new phenomenon, used to report on the more that absentee ballots and voting by mail schemes are adopted, the more potential for fraud there is. I mean, they flip-flop because, of course, it helps their preferred party. Or it would anyway, theoretically, But, I mean, that was common knowledge when this was first adopted. It was never supposed to be widespread. It was never supposed to be what it is now. And the best way, again, in a perfect world would be to eliminate all of that and do something more similar to what I do when a union or a corporation hires me to handle a proxy vote. You're telling me, I know it took the government like billions of dollars to like put a website up for Obamacare, but this crap with the right people who aren't idiots and who aren't cronies attached to you. Oh, that was Laura whacking her knee. When you don't hire your friends to do your jobs, you hire the right people. You can do it for much less expensive than the Obamacare debacle was, or the Iowa voting app for that matter. Oh my God. I mean, it can be done, but we're not in a perfect world. I don't understand why people would not, and Republicans should be leading the charge on this. They're like I've told you guys before, in many cases, the Republican Party is a party of frauds and cowards. I mean, you watch the show, you'd think you'd like have no voting choice. There's nobody to vote for because I just, that's the point. They slam everybody, but they are like today with this show hearing, they'll do nothing with those antitrust laws. I can't believe I didn't see that document yesterday. We got a document yesterday. Now Mike Cernovich has put it up. And it's out there. I mean, you want to read about it. They have no intention of doing it. I mean, they even tell members what they may and may not ask these big tech companies. Republicans have been talking about this wrong and incorrectly the entire time anyway. It's not a matter even of censorship or antitrust laws, while it could be. It really is a matter of campaign finance violations. They're breaking in kind. Those are the media helping the Democratic Party the way they do, and social media helping the Democratic Party the way that these are in-kind campaign contributions. I cannot have my friend in Michigan running for Congress come on the show and just give him 30 minutes of airtime to talk about how cool and great he is and why people should vote for him. That is an in-kind campaign contribution. I can't like a certain candidate and say, you know what, I'll poll for you to see where you are. Don't worry about it. Don't give me any money. That's an in-kind campaign contribution. I cannot dedicate a website, to getting candidates. That is in-kind campaign contributions. Those are. And the Republicans have been talking about this the wrong way. What they are doing, in fact, is illegal. They are supporting the candidates of their choice, and that without any compensation. And that's the hitch. Okay, without any compensation.
Yes, you could do all of these things that you just mentioned,
For
provided
money.
you are paid for
That's
those
right.
services.
As a service, right?
Yes.
That's different. And you go in the FEC filing with everybody else. But that's not what's happening. And Republicans have made this about antitrust. And I get that. And I do think it's valid. I do. I just think it was the politically wrong way to go. And then Republicans, unfortunately, there is still, Trump leads the Republican Party, but he doesn't populate every single member. Like, we don't have give me a second. It was like an alert for the visit. Anyway, I'm back, guys. But the date was like 2099. Their computer messed up.
I'll be here.
All right, I'm back. Yeah, YouTube death ray is cutting Rich's stream. All right, Leah. It's not though, John. It's not. It's where we went. I don't know. Maybe you didn't hear the last couple of days where we went. It's new. This is a brand new street, brand new area. So they had to run it very far away to an existing one, and then eventually put up that one. It just dawned on me on that last cutout that yesterday I did get a thing that said somebody was coming, and I didn't even realize it because I thought it was something wrong because the dates were messed up, the times were messed up. They could be changing it out right now because they told me to expect some glitching, but that it would be like 30-second pops and you could just reset the thing. It'll come back on. That's more than what's going on right now. Right now, we're repeatedly going in and out. And listen, guys, I'm probably going to wrap this and I'll do like a part 2 because I'd at least like, and I know it's going to disappoint a bunch of people, but I just can't have it going in and out like this. An event, what I'll do is I'll do like a part 2, and just as a backup, even if they tell me that everything is good to go, and if somebody goes, no, just as a backup, I'll do the mobile this way. If it does glitch like that, I'll hop onto the mobile, kind of be like redundancy. But anyway, before I go, I will say though, somebody asked a question. The Trafalgar Poster, in an interview to a media outlet last week, you were just briefly on camera. You were just briefly on camera. He mentioned that in an election were held today, Trump would win at least 274 electoral votes. Do you agree with that assessment? I'm just not somebody who likes to talk out of my butt. When I poll enough states to know what that many electoral vote, the opinion of that many electoral votes, then I'll make that kind of a statement. Right now, we just started getting into a few places. We were doing other work before about in blue districts, about these efforts to defund the police. I don't like talking out of my butt, but I think that in Maine, Susan Collins may be a little bit harder for people to beat than people think, just to answer the questions. In Minnesota, is that Minnesota? No, Michigan. I think, look, Gary Peters has done a very good job of being nonchalant, non-controversial. It'll be hard for John James to ultimately close that gap. He would have won that race in 2018, or at least it would have been much closer because he did well enough in Wayne County, but he did not get the Trump vote. They didn't come out for him, and they came out for the Democratic candidate and Hillary Clinton levels, and they did. Whatever you want to make of that, whether you want to think that's legit or not, I'm not going to go there, but the bottom line is he did not get his voters out like that. And he had some tension with the Trump campaign. He did. And yet they were not a good communications team in 2018. I mean, I've heard about endorsements he could have gotten that his campaign screwed up and didn't do events with. I mean, just ridiculous amateur hour stuff. And he's got some newer people, but they're not new people. They're very traditional Republican lose elections people. The same pollster that every idiot Republican in Northern Virginia will refer to their friend. It's the same pollster. And of course, there's that media company, I'm not going to mention names, that'll get you on Fox a lot and take a huge cut to do so. They're all the same cats who aren't really particularly good at winning elections for their candidates. All right. Maine, I do think, that could be if the race turns the way I ultimately do think it will. I do think this race will get much tighter. The coronavirus is what is hurting Donald Trump. I frankly think Donald Trump would have stomped Joe Biden if the coronavirus did not lead to a lockdown. I'm looking at a historical point of view here. People don't like to rock the boat when the economy's doing great. They stick with their guy. All right. They're not particularly political like you and I. They go in the poll, they go into the voting booth, the ballot box, whatever they want to call it, whatever you want to call it. And they say to themselves, my wallet's fat. I'm doing well. I'm not making a change. And that's what history has shown us when things are not good. And by the way, Democrats knew that. And that's why they are at your expense and at the expense of even their own voters. Anyone who works and is a law-abiding, tax-paying American citizen, at their expense, they're trying to hurt the economy and hurt them just to hurt Donald Trump and increase Joe Biden's chances of winning this election. The goal was never to flatten the curve. It was to flatten the economy. That's it. Speaking of which, before we go, hey, you know what? I'm going to start doing these economic bulletins. I have an announcement. I'm going to start doing these economic bulletins on like 5-minute clips and shows.
That'd be
It won't be
beautiful.
inside the numbers. It'll just, you know what it'll be? Inside the numbers economics edition or something. Like I'll come up with some cute name, or actually Laura will, because she comes up with the better names. Right? How true is that? I'm so full of crap. She
Hence
came
the
up with
logo.
most of all this. All right. I think I came up with big data poll. But that was because it's not a very good name. Right? So she does. Yeah. I'm gonna start to do like little short clips where we talk about it. We'll go over the graphs and everything like that. We'll leave inside the numbers for more political stuff. Maybe I'll briefly recap everything at once, but for the in-depth look into things, we'll do that in clips. All right. And New Hampshire, like I said yesterday, I guess that question maybe they didn't watch yesterday. New Hampshire is much closer.
Here yesterday.
Was he?
Yep.
New Hampshire is much closer than people think, and I will do my best to share all of that with you. It is much closer than people think, and there's a reason for that. Donald Trump is fighting that giant independent vote basically to a draw, which is shocking to me. They usually lean more left than independents as a nation as a whole, and Joe Biden is making no gains with working class Americans. It's just true. Joe Biden is leading because of his support with, and not New Hampshire, I mean nationally, because of his support in the suburban areas, which may or may not hold. We've seen this happen before. We saw this with Hillary Clinton in 2016. Joe Biden to a bigger extent a little
New
bit.
Hampshire Senate.
But
he is expanding on that question.
Okay. Save the Senate for the Senate, Matt. All right.
Okay.
But I did speak about Maine though too, and but that's because I do have faith in Collins. I Colorado. I think Cory Gardner is one of the most vulnerable Republican senators in the country. However, he's made. I haven't polled that, but just from what I hear, he's making it a much closer race than you might have thought. Which I'm shocked. I really am. So anyway, yeah, Jim is a New England show in the works. I keep putting this off because I really want to do like this whole big thing about New England. Democrats are very good at seeing opportunities on the electoral map, even 20-point deficits, and saying, you know what, though, the demographic trends favor us, and over time, we're going to make this happen. They're very good at that. Republicans are idiots, and they are not. And they don't see, oh my God, potentially, maybe we kick the Paul Ryan wing out of the damn party, and maybe we could win Maine, New Hampshire. They are now the party. Yeah, they are now the party that at least has half of their party has a non-intervention presence. New Hampshire hates war. Maine, voters in Maine, those independents, they hate war. They hate foreign intervention. That's why George Bush, by the way, that is actually that issue is why George W. Bush won New Hampshire in 2000, but lost it to John Kerry in 2004 because we were in the middle of the Iraq War, bogged down in the Iraq War. They don't like war. That is an America First state. I don't know, Donald Trump's a controversial figure, but you have to think about these things long term.
Yes.
And there's a lot of opportunities, including Connecticut.
Now, I give the Democrats that. They have the long-term
They
game down.
Yeah, man.
They have it down.
They
Look
play
at
the
the
long
school
game.
systems.
They play the long game. Right. And the judicial system, they play the long game. They absolutely do. And culture. And Andrew Breitbart said, politics runs downstream from culture. And he was absolutely right. He was probably the only one who had. I did see Nate's. We don't say that name on this show. Okay. You could say Slimer if you'd like. Because, and the reason why I don't,
Copper,
and I do because, look, I have been thoroughly run through the mud. And Laura will be the first to tell you when I first said I wanted to do some of this stuff publicly, just, we could turn this into this show. I tried to be as friendly and as open.
Did.
I invited everybody to the offices, guys. I'm not kidding. I sent
You
out
opened up
emails.
everything?
I opened up everything. I said, listen, why don't you come in? Because I knew they weren't going to like me. Now, I don't play ball. So I don't like people who don't play ball, and I'm not in their club. Never was, never will be. And I sent emails, I'd really love for you to check out. We're doing things differently. The industry is having problems. I'm trying to be a solution, not part of the problem. I'm trying to, not even, that I had the solution, that I'm simply trying to do things differently to find the solutions.
Well, at first, let's be honest, though, you were a little bit naive thinking everybody would actually, that everybody was honest.
Trying to find solutions.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I was an idiot who thought that everybody,
Not an
because,
idiot.
or at least everybody in the media sphere
Yes.
would be interested in the same thing I was interested in, which was finding solutions, evolving as an industry, and becoming more accurate and trustworthy. That's not the case in the media world. Now, that's not how it is in the private polling or even market research industry. People do these things, like those graphs I was showing you yesterday about the difference between the vote in our voter panel, in our online panel of voters versus the media's, voter file, regular large voter file, even registered voter universe. I had help with that. We had partners with that. There are good people, and they said they just, once you get into this sphere, this media sphere, it's a different animal. And I was nice about it, and I was ignored and then slimed.
Mm-hmm.
The only journalist who ever asked me to make good on those promises was a journalist from the Epic Times that wanted to do an article on our record in 2016, and he was the only one who took me up on it. I said, do you want raw data sets? Do you want to see how it's done? I'll give you.
He was overwhelmed with the
Sheets.
openness.
Yeah, because we do a lot. We like Google Sheets. They have an API. Yeah, so we like to do a lot with Google Sheets. You can put like a data set into Google Sheets, and then use an API to filter it out to different software programs, and you could do maps and charts, whatever. And I was like, give them data set, the dashboard access, whatever. And then, unfortunately, he was the only one who took me up on it.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only one who took me up on it. But I would say that the other one, who we refused to name, he is now doing what he always does, which is equivocate and hedge. All right? He equivocates and he hedges. Equivocates and hedges. And by the way, the betting market stuff is a load of crap. Betting markets follow polls. They follow polls and they follow the leader. There is nothing, like John Stossel used to say, there is no secret sauce with the betting markets. We'll have Robert Barnes on again, and he'll tell you how accurate the betting markets are. The guy makes a killing taking advantage of how stupid these people are following polls. All right, he makes a killing on it. There's no secret sauce in the betting markets. Donald Trump did not become the favorite to win the election in 2016 until about 8:30 Tuesday night. 8:30 on election day at night. It was a fraud. It's a fraud. That idea that betting markets are predictive, it's a fraud. They follow the polls. They're actually a lagging indicator. They follow either the polls or the headline, the top lines, or the expectations question, which is who do you think will win, right? Which actually has a lot more predictive value than top line numbers. That's been shown before.
So in other words, he who cannot be named
is equivocating because he doesn't think he's right. He's doing what he knows the media industry wants him to do, which is set up the narrative that Biden is the odds-on favorite, Trump is way behind, and I'm just tired of answering the same. I'm tired of wasting my time and breath answering the same schemes he's been doing since we started this.
Well,
2014.
Wasn't he the originator whack of fraud that you?
Yeah, I mean, we started this as we don't like to go because it's hard to predict elections.
Mm-hmm.
You're essentially trying to predict human behavior, and I didn't like the pile-on thing. All our followers were always like, "Can you go after him?" I would get emails constantly. Can you go after him? Can you attack him for this? Can you? It's hard to predict elections, so I was easy with him. I held him with kid gloves.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2014, all the bad calls favored Democrats. He got his name by predicting an election my 11-year-old son could have predicted. Barack Obama was always going to crush John McCain. He failed in 2010, which was let's talk about his record real quick.
Mm-hmm.
He failed in 2010 badly. He smashed Rasmussen's polling, which showed that Republicans would win 60-something seats in the House of Representatives, and in fact wrote an article saying Rasmussen must be wrong because if they were right, that would translate into 60-something seats. And in fact, Republicans won 60-plus seats. Okay? And he was wrong. And all of those calls were, again, favoring Democrats. In 2012, again, another election, very easy to predict. Mitt Romney was always going down in flames. They put a plutocrat or a technocrat, which however you think is best to describe Mitt Romney, the only guy who couldn't effectively argue the Obamacare issue because he did it in Massachusetts. This is who Republicans nominate to go against Barack Obama, an incumbent, which is difficult to beat. And he was going down. So we got that right. Good for him. Real hard. Again, my 11-year-old son could have figured that one out. And then come 2014, all the calls are wrong again. Then they're wrong, favoring Democrats. And then in 2016, we all know how it went. So is he right more than he's wrong? No, he's wrong more than he's right. And I submit that when he is right, it's the old adage, even a broken clock is right twice a day. Yeah. He's just, it's going to happen. It's like, if you keep betting on the same team, eventually they may win, right? So if you play the lottery for a million years with the same number, eventually it may hit. It doesn't mean you predicted the lottery was going to get that number that night. I mean, it's hard to explain statistics and
No,
statistically,
you will eventually be right.
That's right.
Because that's just statistics.
That's right. That's right. All right, let me go through this stuff really quickly because this is about, I went over the one thing in a perfect world, how to stop election fraud. And I'm saying like how people hire us to do proxy voting with the online programs. It could be done like that. Like, as secure as it is to sign in to my DOD or myvet.gov, it could be done like that. But that's a perfect world. We have to talk about the three things we talked about yesterday. And I'm anticipating a glitch here, and I want to get through this before the glitch is over, right? Everyone's going to get a ballot. The way Democrats are, everyone's going to get a ballot or ballot request. Like I showed you guys the other day, and we can show you again. I'm going to upload all of them at once and blast through them. But remember, these are important areas: Macomb County, Macomb County, Michigan, Jacksonville, Florida. These are important areas where this stuff matters. That's where you're getting these multiple ballot requests from people who previously lived at different addresses. They no longer live there. And Trump haters with TDS are absolutely going to request their ballots in their name. And then ballot harvesters are absolutely going to come and harvest up those ballots. That's going to happen. So what can be done to stop that? Let's take a small number and an example to better explain it. And this is why I hammered Nevada and Clark County. Because when we talk about solutions, it's easier to talk about something that's more easy to understand and to grip rather than just try to blanket apply it to the entire nation. First of all, we need to standardize elections in this country. States run elections differently, state by state. That really has to stop. We can't add that. We have to have one standard, and it's not against the 10th Amendment. I don't want to hear that because we're already doing so much that the Constitution clearly does not specifically or explicitly allow them to do when it comes to holding elections. Elections, according to the Constitution, read it, folks, one day. That's it. Yet we're holding elections for weeks and weeks.
It's ridiculous.
We need to standardize it. Every state really needs to conduct elections in the same manner. And because the more variables you throw into it, the more likely it is that someone's going to be able to slip through the cracks and figure it out. You can only look for vulnerabilities, or you can more easily look for vulnerabilities when we're only looking at one model here. But because Florida does it differently than Michigan, and because Michigan does it differently than Wisconsin, and because Wisconsin does it differently than Pennsylvania, and Minnesota does it way different, they start voting in September. It's crazy. Everybody needs to standardize. That's number one.
From my favorite.
Number two.
Where they all gather around in the farmhouse.
And she loves caucuses. All right. She likes to see fighting. All right. It's a quagmire. Look what can happen with a caucus. Look at what Iowa. Well, the Democrats messed that up. Yeah, I like the old fashioned look too. I do. It's neat. It's neat. It is. But number two, so standardize everything is number one. And number two, what are we going to do with all of these people who are getting ballots, right? Because now there's like a suspension of these state laws in a lot of these areas where there are no verification procedures. What are we going to do now that there's no signature match? How could we stop people from requesting all of those ballots in bullet point one, right? And the answer to that really is somebody like me or somebody, others, not me, but others like me. What I show you in this database, okay, this is not hard for the federal government to do, or the state. It really shouldn't be federal, but it should be standardized to the point where every state is doing the same thing. And nationally, everybody should be hooked up to the same database. So if one of these votes, for instance, this has an API, folks. What I show you all the time, our voter files, this has an API. It's not hard. I can't believe you guys have been hanging out this long. I can't. You really have been. That's incredible. I can see it though, and it's bobbing up and down. And if it's driving me this crazy, end of broad. Oh my God, I'm back. All right, let me just wrap this so I can say goodbye. Right. The bottom line, we will talk about this again tomorrow. But the bottom line is those voters can be found. Those voters that are in the records that we have been talking about all week and have in past shows that we're worried about. Those records can be found. And when the API dedupes against it, using an API, and they're found, somebody goes to vote or a vote goes to be counted using those records.
Mm-hmm.
It's very simple. It's flagged. And then some further more strict, verification standards have to be followed to make sure, because like I told you the other day, just because somebody has a change of address flag doesn't mean they are not eligible to vote. It's possible that they are, but it's more likely they're not. That's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
But it is possible. People can fall. Maybe that's happened to you, so you know what I'm talking about. But we act like these are votes that are like in the ether or something, like they're ethereal and you cannot find them. They're there. They're right there. You can find them. And by the way, and I really wish this wasn't doing what it's doing, because I had so much to say on this. Everybody should have access to this information. This should not be something that citizens cannot monitor and see on their own. We should all be able to see on election night, real time. It's not. This is the era of tech. This can be done. And
I'm sure they have Facebook Live. You know what I'm saying?
Seriously, it's not different. Look at how you can track unemployment claims live on some of these state websites, these state labor departments. You can absolutely track how many in the state of Florida, and each state would have to handle that. But citizens could see that. How many change of address flags were signaled today at 7:00 on election night?
But you're asking for transparency.
Yeah, that is what I'm asking for. Absolutely. Just like I am with polling,
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking for transparency. It has to be, because election integrity is everything. It has to be like this. We're entering a very dangerous time. We're supposed to be Americans who think big and think bold and rise to the occasion. One of the main themes of this era is that we're not. We have been too small. We've been too small for our challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to start thinking bigger. This is not hard. I'm going to wrap this because I don't want to glitch and disappear from everybody.
Quick.
Oh, come on. You're killing me with the questions. Today's not a day for questions.
I know it's not.
It's not.
It'll get question.
Oh, go ahead. One.
Does getting a subscription to PPD give access to the voter database, or is that available?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But what it will do is, and these take time to build. It's in the works. What it will do is give you access to the map, which will go up, and it will be like we have in the past. Like we did it in 2014, 2016. And I don't know if it was in 2018 because we didn't do the house stuff that well. I just put up an early house map. But this will give you access to the map, which is forthcoming, which when you click on it, it will show you, you'll hover over states and you'll be able to click on them. It'll be a pop-up window. The other ones were like this, where it shows you, the needle will go back and forth, show you which way Democrats are, maybe they're 30%, Republicans are 30%, whatever it may be, whatever the voter file shows. And then, of course, the religiosity index, which we put together using the voter file to show how religious a state is, as far as maybe weekly attendance to church, monthly attendance, infrequent, whatever it may be. And we do that because religiosity is a major indicator on how somebody is going to vote. Frequent churchgoers are among the most reliable Republican voting bloc. And, other tidbits like that. But it doesn't give you access to the files itself, but it will give you access to what the files say about partisanship and other demographics that we put in there. And also that will be updated monthly, just like the voter files are for us. And some of them are updated bi-weekly. And of course, if that's the case, then it will as well. All right. So that's what I wish I could, but the vendor would never let me do that. They wouldn't let me. And, we definitely work, and I can say this without even equivoc. Yeah, we absolutely work with the best voter database company in the country, hands down. And I don't want to piss them off. All right. But it's 12:17, guys. I didn't even do any commercials. We need to get this wrapped up. So I'm going to kind of recap this tomorrow. I'm sorry, but it was like a quagmire with this glitch and crap. So I'm going to kind of recap this tomorrow. We'll have the perfect world solution, and then we'll have the solution for the realistic world that we live in. But I kind of gave a taste of it today, but it's detailed, and I'm not going to have this glitch in and out like this. So we'll be back tomorrow. We'll go over it again tomorrow, and I'm just going to kick rocks here, give you the outro music. Those of you who hung around, man, we love you. I can't believe you did that.
We really
I
appreciate
can't believe
you
how
for
many of you
sticking
hung
through
around.
For what, 5 interruptions?
There was like 5 of them.
That would drive me nuts.
You guys are great. All right.
You're
Don't
the
forget
best.
to subscribe to the YouTube channel before you go. Like the page on Facebook if you use Facebook. And we will see you tomorrow. All right. All the best, folks.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends, and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be. I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. There's rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. We can get on a plane and take a one-way ride. Steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to disappear overnight, just to give in to the need and leave it all behind. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad